It's no shocking statement to declare that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is clueless. If you go through the past years of inductees, it's shocking who they've included, but what's even more shocking can be who they haven't yet included. They've just released their 2019 list of inductees, and I thought it might be fun to go through all the years of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's inductees and just marvel at some of the ridiculous choices they've made in the past. You are watching Dancing with Ghosts.
Dancing with ghosts, dancing with ghosts, that's the way they became Dancing with Ghosts.
So, as I said earlier, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is pretty damn clueless. Nobody's going to really debate that at this point. My conclusion after doing some research for this video and going over the list of inductees and nominees and all that is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame really has no credibility whatsoever as an institution of any kind of merit. If you look at the definition of rock on their website, it's this very amorphous kind of hippie, you know, oh, rock is a feel, it's not necessarily an instrument or a this or a that, it's this ethereal thing, man, and anybody can be considered rock and roll. Really, because if you ask most people, rock is a fucking genre last time I checked. Just like rap is a genre, just like jazz is a genre. And I'm sure one day they'll all have their own halls of fame, and I won't expect to see Led Zeppelin in the fucking hip-hop rock, or the hip-hop Hall of Fame just to feel more inclusive. I wouldn't want to see Led Zeppelin in there because they're not fucking rap. So that's kind of my whole way that I'm going about this list. So if you're a rap group and you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm going to have problems with that instantly because I don't really buy into this whole politically correct inclusive bullshit if it just totally defies all logic and explanation. There are exceptions to this rule of hip-hop groups being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I will get to, but this whole ethereal notion of rock and roll being an attitude, which I mean it is, but it's mainly a genre of music that mainly involves some kind of distorted guitar-driven thing of some kind. You don't really have rock and roll if you don't have any kind of guitar or heaviness in the music at all. I mean, that's pretty commonplace. If you go to a Spotify playlist and you type in rock, you're not going to find Public Enemy on there. You're just not. And if you did, that playlist would probably become so downvoted that it would go into obsolescence. So, anyway, what are the requirements to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Well, you have to, for you to be considered to be nominated into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it has to be 25 years have to have passed since your first commercial release. So you have to have been around for a solid chunk of time. I agree with that. That's fine. I think that you should show that you can stand the test of time to be worthy to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Fine, no problem with that. But then they go into this very nebulous definition of you have to show that your music left a mark of excellence in preserving rock and roll or enhancing rock and roll as a genre or as a spirit or whatever the hell they're wanting to call it. And the term having to display some form of excellence is so subjective. It's so subjective to whoever the committee is that are casting these votes, who are nominating these people to be in their hallowed halls. What does that even mean, to display some sort of excellence? Isn't that in the eye of the beholder? So already there's so much here that sets the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up for failure and not being credible in the least bit. If you ask me, simple solution, let the populace vote. Let the people vote. There should not be a committee. So the inductees for 2019 are groups like Radiohead. Very much agree with that choice. Radiohead, amazing example of a indie/experimental rock group. They also got Def Leppard in there. Not my favorite band at all. Don't really even like them all that much, but they are kind of that big hair rock cheese of the 80s, so sure, and they sold a bajillion records. Then you got the Zombies, which are kind of an odd old school, very old school band that's been around for a long time. I don't know how active they've been, but you know, they've had some you know, hit songs here and there. Then you got Roxy Music, which is a very influential kind of experimental kind of rock band. Brian Eno came from Roxy Music. They inspired and influenced a lot of artists that I really like. So yeah, sure, I think they're a great choice. You have Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac, and you know, all the stuff she did with them in her solo career. I mean, she's already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Fleetwood Mac. Did her solo career need to be in there? See, this is one of the problems I have with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They like to do a lot of, you know, ooh, look at the big ticket name that we got this year. And that's where I feel like the next person falls into place. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson. Rock and roll. No. R&B. Pop singer. Yes! What the hell is she doing in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Her brother Michael, I don't have a problem with that. Yes, he was the king of pop. He was a pop star, but you know what? He had an affinity for rock music. Beat It has one of the most iconic guitar solos in it of all time. Dirty Diana, Give In To Me, Slash on the song. Mike had a love of rock music. So Michael Jackson being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I have no problem with. His sister Janet? No. No. And then finally, the last band we have is The Cure, which, you know, 80s, you know, arguably the beginning of emo music, very, you know, guitar-driven, you know, indie kind of, whatever, 80s emo. Yeah, sure, I think that they definitely belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But if you're going to go down that line, you might as well throw in the Smiths and New Order and, you know, some of those bands as well, because they're arguably in that same genre. So let's get to the ridiculous choices that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has made over the years. Just going down the list here, the arbitrary list I made that is in no particular order. It's just how I felt like doing it as I take a sip from my orange vanilla Coke Zero. Man, that was refreshing. Number 10 for me, Tupac Shakur, who was inducted in 2017. Again, any rap group I'm instantly going to have a problem with because they are rap. And this is rock, and it's just like a no-brainer that you would not induct a hip-hop artist into a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, regardless of how many albums they sold or how popular they were. But anyway, yeah, Tupac was a huge rap artist, rap star, probably one of the most influential rap artists out there to this day. I like some of his music. Not rock at all in any way, shape, or form. The next one we have is Simon and Garfunkel, who were inducted in 1990. Simon and Garfunkel were some of the most white bread, like, OG hipsters that I can think of. They were way more Bob Dylan and way less Iron Maiden. There was no rock to speak of with Simon and Garfunkel. Yes, they had some classic songs that will forever be in our lexicon, such as Bridge Over Troubled Water and Sound of Silence, which Disturbed's version I like a lot better. I'm sorry to say. That might be sacrilege to some people, but yeah, Simon and Garfunkel, I mean, maybe under the early influencer category, but I don't know. The early influences are people like Muddy Waters and, you know, Bo Diddley, and so they're not even like, they haven't even been around long enough necessarily to be an early influencer. They just don't belong in the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Up next, we have Run DMC, who flip turn. I do think they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before everybody starts crying racist. No, Run DMC, they've had a few songs that were very rock-oriented. Tougher Than Leather is a badass rap rock song. I highly suggest you give it a listen. It's a lesser-known Run DMC song, but it's very good. They did the crossover with Aerosmith with Walk This Way, so clearly Run DMC have some kind of an affinity for rock music. They got the Beastie Boys their start in the rap game. They basically dared them to start a rap group and, you know, kind of took them under their wing for a little bit. And the Beastie Boys, for a large part, were a Run DMC clone for their first album, at least. And then they obviously made and defined their own sound after that. But no, I have no problem with Run DMC being in the Hall of Fame. I just wanted to throw you guys off your rocker there before you start getting on your keyboards and typing racist. The next one that we have that I think is kind of fucked is Public Enemy, because again, they're a rap group. They were inducted in 2013, and again, they're an old school rap group. Chuck D had some very politically charged lyrics, and it's like, yeah, okay, you could make the case that, oh, well, Josh, they heavily influenced Rage Against the Machine, which is very much a rock band. Well, yeah, they might have influenced them in like a social conscious kind of way with the lyrics, but if you want to talk about Rage Against the Machine's actual rock music, Black Sabbath influenced Rage Against the Machine way more than Public Enemy did if we're talking musically. So they just shouldn't be in there. On top of that, Chuck D said some pretty anti-Semitic shit in the past, and with how fucking politically correct everything is nowadays, I'm surprised they weren't banned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just based on that. However, this was back all the way in 2013, which, if you compare to 2019, was like a whole nother time and world away compared to where we're at now with the whole political correctness. Moving on, our next choice is not Run DMC, I already said them. NWA, who was inducted in 2016. This was one of the most controversial choices, and I can see why. NWA they were the progenitors of the gangster rap music genre. They pioneered a genre of hip-hop, of rap music. They were not rock at all, and any kind of influence they might have had on anybody in the rock world, I can't hear it. And, on top of that, Ice Cube, who's actually quoted on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame website, kind of breaking down what rock is and how it's a spirit and blah, blah. He's also made some very anti-Semitic comments against Jewish people in the music in the past that, he's not apologized for or anything. I mean, I'm not Jewish and I'm not bothered by it, but again, you would think that this would be some kind of a disqualifier if the fact that they are not rock isn't enough of a disqualifier. So, yeah, bad choice. Up next we have Madonna, who was inducted in 2008. Madonna is a lot of things. She is a provocateur. She is a chameleon of her dress styles and her vocalizations and her kind of musical stylings, but what she is not or has ever been is rock. She is a pop diva through and through. Yes, she has innovated. Yes, she has paved the way for, female artists after her. But she's never been rock. She's never done anything that sounded remotely rock. She's rolled around in a wedding dress on a, stage and, humped a microphone and gave some little Filipino kid crabs or something. I don't know. I read her book Sex or Erotica a long time ago, and I think there was some story in there where she got crabs from having sex with some Filipino kid. But anyway, if there was a pop star Hall of Fame, for instance, yes, put Madonna right there close to the top, below Michael Jackson. Yes, she belongs in the pop star Hall of Fame, along with Janet Jackson. That's where they would fit in and would kind of retain the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's credibility. And going back, there should be a hip-hop Hall of Fame, and NWA and Public Enemy should be at the top of those lists, because they're so influential in those genres. Up next, we have Hall and Oates. They were inducted in 2014. The Blue-Eyed Soulster, Daryl Hall, and his perm-wielding friend, John Oates, or whatever the hell his first name is, these guys were like 70s soft rock. They were like pioneers of that genre. I mean, not even rock, just 70s easy listening. I mean, they had some decent songs, Sarah Smile, and these kind of songs that they first came onto the scene with. But like even back then, you could tell that they were just tailor-made for dentist office waiting rooms and drugstore PA systems. They do not hearken any kind of spirit of rebellion at any kind, especially not in the 80s when they were this made for MTV just pop piece that were churning out these disposable synth-laden crapshoots. No Hall & Oates. You do not get to stay in the same leagues as fucking Led Zeppelin and The Who and the Beatles and the Rolling fucking Stones. You don't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Up next, we have Donna Summer, who was inducted into 2013. Okay, now if we're having a techno music Hall of fucking Fame, Donna Summer is the mother of EDM and techno music. Fucking, yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. Not rock and roll. I Feel Love, MacArthur Park. I don't know what other songs she's done. I'm not a huge disco fan. She's a disco pioneer. There was nothing rock about Donna Summer. She should not be in there. Techno Music Hall of Fame? Yes. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No. Red. Stop. And then finally, as if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did not lose all credibility to you, the listening audience, the watching audience, up to this point, surely this last entry will have changed your mind. 2010's induction of the band ABBA. I don't know of a more syrupy, saccharine, harmony, and melody-laden pop band than ABBA. ABBA defined what is a fantastic pop song. They are fucking pop pioneers. If you listen to their music, it sounds like it's from another world because it's so glossy and shiny and sparkly and the exact opposite of what rock is. Rock is dirty and from the dick and balls and vagina or whatever gender neutral things I can say to not offend anyone right now, but you know, it's got balls and it's you know, got raw energy, or it's supposed to at least. ABBA is the polar opposite. It is you know, meticulous, and it's very, you know, very deliberately put together in this very frilly package so the most amount of people possible will like it. I'm sorry, I just the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not a credible organization. It's a farce. It's a joke. It's got to be some kind of a money-making, money-laundering thing. The choices are absolutely ridiculous. You have your choices in there that are givens. The names I just said: Beatles, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who. You know, and then you got some people who still haven't been inducted, like fucking Deep Purple. They're legendary. And then's the bands that they took forever to induct. Rush. They sold millions of records, and they've been around for 50 years, and it took them until a few years ago to be inducted. This organization is clueless, and really, all I really do, whenever I hear that their new list of inductees comes out, I look at the list, scoff at it, and then move about my day. But I figured I'd release this definitive video where I just do my ultimate bitching and moaning about said organization and hope that you got some entertainment out of it. What are your thoughts on hip-hop and these pop stars being involved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Do they have any place in there? Or should it just be for a more rock-oriented artist in its purest form? Give me your thoughts in the comments below. This video's already run long enough. I'm Josh Cannon. I hope you have a good rest of your night.